It's 27 degrees in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maukwe Ogun Yusuf.
Let's just make sure that we take the doses in proportion and not overdo it. Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome. It's 33 degrees centigrade in Lagos, and this is Sunrise Daily, and we hope you have fun listening and watching us this morning. So, Makwe, what's our first take?
Yes, well, we're taking you to another state in Nigeria, southwest region particularly. And this time around, well, in that particular area, it's about 26 degrees. I think anytime you see it now, Ayo is always talking about movies when we talk about our skylines. But this particular one has been featured in a movie. Well, I'm sure it's been featured in several movies. But very recently, it was featured in a movie that, went a bit viral on the popular Netflix platform. I'm sure if you have seen that particular movie, you would know what it is that we're talking about. This is the Jesa Waterfalls. It is located in Osun State, especially in Oriade local government area. It is a very beautiful sight to behold, and in the movie where it featured, it actually told a very interesting story. Look at it. It's almost like it's 2 stories high. Well, it's like it has 2 layers. That's what I mean. If you're looking at the entire, will I say, height of the waterfall, certainly it's higher than 2 stories, but it looks like it's in 2 layers. So you have one layer where it cascades from the top to a certain part, and then from that part again, it cascades even further down. The people of Osun State, from what we understand, regard this as a sacred grove. I know that it certainly will make any tourist day to be able to, visit this particular site and bask in the waters of Jesa. Ayo.
Yeah. Well, that movie is 7 Doors. Again, I think the producer is also from Osun State. I'm not very sure about that. But yes, that part where some women were falling off of a cliff. It was here that was shot, and it was, as you always say, Malcolm, picturesque. Let's take a picture of this, put it on a postcard, put some color on it, and you have a picture that you can sell anywhere in the world. Whatever happened to that culture? It was in the 70s or 80s or so. I saw those pictures. You just take a picture of some place, put a location of it, and just a small message on it, and put a postcard or a stamp on it and send. And that's it. But this is beautiful. Yes, I always see movies. And now that this one is appearing in movies, I believe that there is more coming. There's another movie that I saw. The movie is still in the making. I understand it's just about 60% done. But if the sites there, if anyone told you that they were shot in Nigeria, you would say it's a lie. But yes, I can tell you, we have all of these locations. Mark, one thing interesting about this Jesa Waterfalls we're talking about was that one young man last year called out the government of Osun State and said, hey guys, this is such a it's not looking as good as it ought to be. Can the government do something about it? And the governor paid a visit and promised that something was going to be done. And that was last year, about the same time last year. Whether or not much has been done, we'd like to hear from you if the government has actually begun the rehabilitation or executed the rehabilitation that was promised to make this waterfall the world-class tourism site that the government hopes it can be. If not, well, I guess we'll find out from you. In the meantime, please take this in.
Well, Ayo, just taking a look at the general area where that particular grove is located, you do not want too much to be done to this particular area. You want the scenery, you want the vegetation, you want the ecosystem to be left largely intact. So whatever it is that they do to enhance and make it more approachable, so to speak, I hope it's not something that destroys the ecosystem, because it really, you know, when you read the story around it, when you read the story and the history around how this was discovered, you know that somebody really must be going through a forest somewhere for them to be able to discover this, especially when you look at the grove from above. But I do hope that this has brightened your morning somewhat. Well, we're going all the way to River State now, where the story is not so bright this time around. I wish that, you know, they had heeded the warning of their neighbors and saw them more as neighbors who meant well. But clearly, it did not appear that, you know, the neighbors who were warned, you know, saw their neighbors as people who meant well for them. Well, they have now paid the ultimate price in this particular accident we understand occurred in a local government in River State, where some people were keeping crude oil in their homes, and the business went awry when the house caught fire and exploded, taking with it the lives of 4 people. And the sad part, it included a child. It's not the prettiest of sights, it was not the prettiest of scenes, but we keep on telling our people, we keep on asking our people to be wise. When it comes to dealing inflammable products, there is a reason why they're kept in certain places. There is a reason why these products are regulated. It is not supposed to be in people's homes. It's not supposed to be sold in enclosed spaces. There is a reason for all of that. And I do hope that, you know, we continue to learn our lessons. And it will not be through this hard way. It will be because when other people are speaking and when they bring up issues like this, we see reason in it, and, you know, we take heed, you know, and that people do not say, oh, my neighbor will say, what is my business? And so keep quiet when something could affect everyone at the end of the day. But this is what happened in a local government in River State.
It's a calm facade here in Omoko, headquarters of Oba Ebe Mandoni local government area of River State. This, however, belies a sad incident of an explosion which occurred here over the weekend. 4 people reportedly lost their lives when a facility used for storage of illegally refined crude oil, better known as bullfire, exploded, destroying the building with it.
Yes. It's not just ordinary fire. You know, when the gas...
The commander of the local vigilante, known as OSPAC, takes my team and I to the site, where he paints a gory picture of the incident.
Okay, with our investigation, we find out that these persons that were found dead here was pouring this bullfire into Ragolu's can. And the person that used to bring this bullfire to them here to pour inside the can came through this way. And somebody by the side, by the corner there, is cooking.
At this kitchen?
At this kitchen.
Kitchen, somewhere here?
Yes, the kitchen.
Okay.
Okay.
Was cooking food?
Yes.
Okay.
So when he walked in, the one he carried, there's a little leakage.
It was leaking?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the process, knocking for these people to open so that he can supply them.
Okay.
That was where the fire magnet.
When asked about efforts to stamp out the menace of oil bunkering in the vicinity, as this is not the first time a tragedy like this is occurring, he explains that it's out of his purview.
OSPAC is just to protect life and property. The area is that where we always say, give us information if you see where they store these things, so that we cannot come and say, come and evacuate it out of this place. But they will not give you such information because they believe that they are all looking for their daily bread.
Some of the neighbors and relatives of the victims claim they've been warning against the illicit activities.
It's like I'm disturbing them, not for them to doing that business here. But for now, if people can help, for them to stop it finally, for them not to do this type of thing again, because I'm not in support of them. That's why all of them hated me.
It's not good to embarrass us or it put us in the problem we will not go face off. As this in that now, isn't that a problem?
It's a problem.
So you have to tell your people, if doing this type of thing, tell them to stop. Nobody were hungry, they killed.
In December of 2023, a pipeline explosion in Omoko killed 19 people who are believed to have been tampering with the pipeline, while another explosion at Abeji, also in Onelga, killed about 100 others. This worrying trend is cause for concern, and it's not yet clear how the government will handle the situation. Charles Opurum, Channels Television News.
Well, indeed, we are now switching gears to politics. It has been on the front burner for a while now, the defections happening within the APC, or to the APC, because much as, yes, it was announced last week that the governor of Delta State, alongside the vice presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 elections, had defected to the APC. It wasn't until yesterday that the official reception of the defectors was effected. So yesterday it happened, and this was how it went down.
The event bears all the hallmarks of a high-level defection. The atmosphere is carnival-like as the cenotaph in Asaba, the Delta State capital, overflows with a large crowd mostly dressed in yellow. Vice President Kashim Shettima headlines a prominent gathering which includes APC governors, key National Assembly members, and the top leadership of the ruling APC.
I want to thank my brother governor.
The tone is set by the chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum and governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma.
Both the federal and subnational governments are sufficiently represented here. We have even SSA political, Alhaji Ibrahim Masari, Waziri Kasina in our midst. So the party is complete, the government is complete, ably led by our leader, the vice president.
The main event then unfolds. Former Delta State Governor Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa officially joins the APC.
I've been with you for so long. I would rather sacrifice everything that is in me for the best interest of Delta. And that decision that our governor took, that we needed to move after consultation with the leaders of the party, which was cascaded down to the local governments and the world. Let us go back home and let the people know that we are taking this decision in their best interest. God bless you all. APC!
Now it is my honor and privilege to hand over this flag and our symbols of room to this great man who has now come into our great party APC.
Then comes the high point of the day, the culmination of what is being described as one of the most significant defections in recent memory. Governor Sheriff Oborewori officially joins the APC.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
We are not Kobona. Are you Kobona? This is data. Data cannot carry last. We have been in opposition for almost 10 years. Do we need that? Mr. President has supported us. He has shown us love. We cannot face him in 2027 to work against him. That love that he has shown to us in Delta State, we need to reciprocate it. We cannot do it in our own party. You have to be inside to do it, and to do it well.
last but certainly not least is none other than Vice President Kashim Shettima.
What testimony could be greater than the promise of this day? A political tsunami of unimaginable proportion that has never happened in the history of the South region, and barely in the history of this country. A tsunami of this proportion had never happened. All the members of the upper chamber of the National Assembly are in the APC. The Speaker and all the members of the House of Assembly. So many members of the House of Representatives. The governor and his entire cabinet and 500 councillors across the 25 local government areas of this great state. What testimony do you have greater than this?
This event undoubtedly marks a significant shift, not just in the political dynamics of Delta State and the South-South region, but also at the national level, as the All Progressives Congress and its political rivals continue to strategize for the 2027 general elections.
And that's how it has been described, a political tsunami of great proportions. Those are the words of the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. And of course, political analysts have more than a word on it, on what has happened in Delta State. This morning, we're joined by the National Secretary of the CUPP, Mr. Peter Ame. Thank you so much for coming to our studios this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
We also have joining us virtually Mr. John Nani, who is the chairman of the SOPADEC and also a former aspirant at the Delta Central Senatorial seat. He's also a former chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. Mr. Nani, thank you so much for joining us as well.
You're welcome.
So let me start with you, Mr. Ame, in the studios. This was what we saw last week. I want to ask you first, how did you take the announcement that the governor of Delta State, alongside the former vice presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 elections, were defecting to the All Progressives Congress?
For me, I think it's just that people are not coming into terms with the current reality that we are facing, especially when election is now, being driven by, the authority of the people and people's interest to participate or those who govern them. Let me tell you, this is not the first time this such things is happening in Nigeria. There was a time ANPP was almost wiped out by the PDP. They were left with one governor, which now led to the merger in 2015. PP had two governors in the southeast. They jumped to the PDP. You can't say that because you have those who are losing political relevance, who have underperformed, especially with the kind of resources that have, that have come from federal allocation to Delta State. You can't say those who are now, who are now political opportunists and have left their party. And now they are not going to determine the course of events for 2027 election. Yes, there will be some of their supporters who will go along with them. You can look at the crowd. Those crowds were mobilized. They were funded from each local government by buses to arrive there. When the people's movement and the people are interested in the process, you see organic process. You see interest on how to save this. This political madness will stop. Because you can see from the result of the 2023 election how the people determine the course of our political trajectory, how they came out en masse to register as voters and then participate in the process. You can't have a situation where political opportunists, people who are afraid to face the challenges of what they've done in government and give account to EFCC, and then come up and then say they're making it the interest of the people. This is not a political strategy. It's not a political strategy to say you want to ally with the federal might. What is federal might going to do for you? To do what? You're already getting your statutory allocation from the federal, from FAC. You're getting everything that is supposed to come to Delta State. So what are you defecting? It's because you're afraid of election. Because you can't get to the level that the COA got to and the level that the governor got to.
Yeah, but let us face it. I mean, you just mentioned you can't get the level that Okowa got to. For God's sake, the former governor Okowa too has also defected. He was even a vice presidential candidate. And for a number of people, that's a bit shocking. that the vice presidential candidate in just the last elections will defect to the All Progressives Congress. So he's also there as well. Some people have said, oh, this is in calculations ahead of 2027, not necessarily for Delta politics. It might help Delta politics, but they're looking at a broader coalition. Do you see anything along that line?
No, I don't see. What I've seen is that people, self-preservation and an attempt to remain in power, and look for a shortcut to it. But elections are driven by the people. Election is one man, one vote. In an election, the vote will be cast at the polling unit, vote will be counted at the village, and winners will be announced at the polling unit. This same guy, if you look at the 2023, some of the campaigns, they'll say, oh, he's obedient. Obedient have to support him. Because you see, when the tsunami of the people come, you will discover that these same people, yes, they will have some level of support, but it will not outweigh the mass participation of the citizens.
Interestingly,
it will never be.
Labour Party carried the day in Delta State in the presidential elections, but not so in the governorship elections. But let me go to somebody who I'll say is on the ground in Delta State. Stanani, I do not know what your own contributions will be, but some people will say that Delta largely, we've seen, yes, attempts to try and wrest power. There have been very strong attempts to wrest power from the PDP in Delta State. We've seen the likes of Great Ogboru, who has put up a pretty good fight in the opposition in Delta State. And in the last elections, too, we saw the APC give the PDP a run for its money. But it does appear that, is the PDP tired of fighting in Delta? Is that why they have decided to capitulate to the antics of the APC?
I don't think so, because I know full well that PDP is on ground in Delta State as it were, but where the central and no more hold, because there are a lot of division in the central. We don't know who is the secretary of the party. We don't know who is the chairman of the party. A lot of litigation here and there. People have hijacked the party. And no one, I don't think any other state in Nigeria will say, oh, they are more forceful as members of PDP than the other states. But where the central no more hold, what do? The policy of Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, before we criticize it now, but at the long run, I know full well it's going to pay off. And the drivers of PDP in the other state, the governor, who is the captain of the ship, the immediate past governor, who is the chief engineer of the ship, has looked at it that, yes, the interest of our people matters a lot. What do we do? Should we stay fighting? One does not fight forever. You fight for a particular right to be gotten. Now, if the right you are fighting for is the interest of the people, and the interest of the people can only be gotten when there is peace and harmony, I think you told the part of peace. I know full well that the movement of the governor, who is the captain of the ship of governors in Delta States, to APC is for the betterment of the people to get the dividends of democracy. He has done well. If he has not done well, all the awards he's getting, he will not be getting them. And if he has not done well, you will not see the mammoth crowd yesterday. I'm a grassroots politician. I'm a lawyer. If he's not doing well, I'll pronounce it and stay on my own. A lot of persons, you go through the 25 local governments, you will see that all the leaders were there yesterday to defect with him.
Do I take it then that you also defected to the APC?
Because he is the captain of the ship. You know, it is often said that what the old man sees sitting, the child does not see it when it's on top of the tree. People outside might decide to say, oh, he is not supposed to defect, he's supposed to fight on. You don't fight a battle you know full well will not benefit your people. It's not winning per se. You will not, if it's a selfish fight, then you would have decided to say, okay, let me fight on because PDP, with what he has done on ground, is still on ground in the other state. But what would be the interest of the people whom he is governing? What would be the dividend of democracy that will come to them. Yes.
I have said,
my friend,
just a moment. I have said that, you know, Delta has not been shy. I mean, it has faced pretty stiff opposition in, you know, in the state in the course of producing its governors, particularly since the advent of the Fourth Republic. However, we do know that the infighting within the PDP in Delta State has not been child's play either. And so there are those who are looking at what has now happened, the merger. In fact, as a matter of fact, those who made up the APC in Delta were largely brothers who defected from the PDP to the APC because it gave them more room to be themselves, I mean, and to also pursue their ambitions. Now you have a situation where the two structures have collapsed into one. Do you fear that this infighting, which seems to have calmed down somewhat in the PDP, given the fact that other platforms had now emerged in Delta State, could resurrect and come back even stronger now that there's just one major platform, the APC?
You see for yourself yesterday, those who were supposed to be in APC as opposition to PDP in Delta State were all there receiving the governor wholeheartedly, and they clearly stated that the governor should be the driver of the vehicle. That's to tell you that, yes, they are receiving the governor believing that peace is better than war. Because Shuna Ashebe said, in peace, children bury their father, but in war, father bury their children. They've agreed to work together.
Okay, let me come to you, Mr. Mayor, because I'm sure that you are no stranger to the politics of Delta State. You're no stranger to the politics of Nigeria. We've been told that this is just the start of a gale of defections that could be happening. I mean, even we understand the governor too also said so. Looking at where we currently are, I mean, you've talked about how we've seen this before. There were talks around whether we were drifting to a one-party state, whether anyone could wrest power from the ruling PDP at the time. And eventually we saw in 2015 that, you know, the opposition factors knew that they had to come together to do something about, you know, creating a viable opposition. But then there are questions now as to whether or not, you know, we now have anybody or we have a group of people who can actually come together. There have been talks around the coalition. Do you see elements left remaining for a coalition with such a massive defection?
Sincerely, there's no massive. I think we are over-exaggerating some of this issue. He has said it in some of his statements that yes, President Tinubu's policy might not be seen right now, and it's putting poverty in. It's making people go hungry, and it's creating a system where the citizens are not happy, and that in the future, that probably the whole thing will come to materialize. But at this moment, people, when you have a government in place that is not interested of people's interest, you know, I was seeing that it's disengaged for how the people feel on the street. The government is going to eventually pay for it when it comes to the polls. You can't have a system. We look at 2033, for instance. In Delta, the Labour Party, the almost unknown Labour Party won the presidential election. The Labour Party won about 50% in 7 states, 25% in 16 states. There was no structure, there was no governor, there was no House of Rep except one man, Peter Obi. You look at Kwankwaso, you look at Alex Chioma-Oti. See, it is no longer about this defection. Those in government today are missing the point because the governance space has been shrunk to a point that citizens now engage. From social media, they can get information. When we started our democracy in 1999, there was not too much engagement. There was not too much interaction between the citizens and sharing opinion on how how bad leadership have affected them. But today, there's a process by which the citizens engage the process, and if that process is not fair enough to protect the right of the citizens by making sure that the daily needs of the citizens is what is brought to the table to discuss and giving us factual data, how the economic policies that you are bringing about is improving the life of the people. We can't continue to play politics from the day of election until another election. What you see is the concentration of APC more interested in playing politics.
You talked about how, you know, the Labour Party carried the day in Delta State. But some people will say that, and some people will say, okay, in the last elections, that the opposition, as a matter of fact, won the elections. That if you coalesce all of the votes of the opposition in the last elections, you know, that they far outweighed that of the APC. But right now, we are seeing a situation whereby the APC is merging forces with some people in the opposition, is merging forces with members of the opposition. Do you see a situation whereby, you know, where this would actually have an effect? So I'm looking at a situation, for instance, now in Delta State, where you say it's about the votes of the people. You had in the presidential elections, APC, PDP, and also Labour Party. Now imagine that APC is now merging with PDP, and the votes are coming together. Do you see a chance for a coalition to sail through?
I think, you see, I don't want to play into the narrative of the APC, you know, trying to look as if the coalition of the opposition is collapsing. But I have to set up the agenda in a way that will be more understanding for people, for our Nigerian citizens. When you talk about people joining forces, sometimes when you join forces, it will affect you negatively, because the people who voted for the PDP in the state were voting because they didn't like the policy of the APC. Why are you so sure that these same people are going to vote when you now decide to take their vote without any accountability, and then merging with that of the APC they so rejected? So these facts, we must break it down so that we don't play into the hands of those in government and say, oh, the opposition coalition is good. There's opposition coalition that will come. But I'm telling you that the center point for our canvassing, for our discourse, is that the people would determine the cost of the outcome of our elections. And the people have done it in the past. Even the governor of Delta, after the presidential election, started preaching that he was obedient. So these are facts that are in the public. We cannot sit down and allow people who are in government, who are protecting their own interests through and are not courageous enough to do what others before them have done. Lagos was just one governor that had gone to the presidency. So you can't look at the situation where you're not courageous enough to stand and defend the mandate being given to you freely on the platform of one party that you canvassed and said you will do A, B, C, D, based on the manifesto of the PDP, based on the constitution of the PDP, and based on the principle of the PDP. If you now disengage from that process, and then this is breach of contract. How do you think majority of Deltans feel? The street is not, if you go to the street of Delta, people are not rejoicing, people are not partying. You come to a restricted stadium or a restricted space and you gather people and you distribute an organized process where you give them yellow t-shirt and you say that the people are happy. This is not how you check the happiness of the people. You need to have a data-driven process, and then the people come to you and say you are defecting. This defection is not for the people. And I tell you that the Deltas, the state, the APC will also pay dearly for it in the next election, because you are not talking about state that you have educationally disadvantaged state. You are talking about a state that people are, people have understanding of what the data about inflation is affecting the common man. The data about the insecurity in the country, why people can no longer go to farm. The bandits, that are taking over our highway. These are the statistics that people are looking at. And what is the interest of the president? How is the president working to push this whole system? Because the APC today, that the Delta State government are moved to, the Delta State government is going to have he has forgotten that he's going to have the share of whatever failure that the current president is putting up for the economy. So when people just want to make political headline and try to make sure that Nigerians are afraid, I contested it. I go to rural communities. The way people think is not how majority of the politicians think. And that's why we're seeking that if there's an electoral process that do demand that the people will go and vote and their vote will count. Let me tell you, there's no entrenched political structure that can defend the participation, mass participation of the people. None anywhere in the world. It has never happened. It will not happen in 2027, because the people always will determine their future by going to vote and say, so thing happened. Cost of bag of cement today is 10,300 and something, or 10,500. So if you earn 7,000, you can't build a house. I had a father who served in the public service, who retired with the money in retirement, about 4.something million. He built a house. But now it's impossible. These are things that are no longer possible. These are things that are wiped out the low class, wiped out the middle class. How much it costs buying one bread today? So you look at how people are suffering. From year to year, go and look at the transportation in 2015 and what the transportation says. You are not just sitting in your cool office, or you sit in a comfortable environment and you say, yo, because I have defected as a governor, the people must follow me. The people are suffering. And that will also determine how they treat those who have mismanaged and disappointed them on the mandate given to them.
Let's go to Lagos now. I do know that Ayo has questions for you.
Well, Thank you, Mokwe. Let me begin with Mr. Nani. There is this question a number of people would wonder whether or not it is a reality. Now, do you think that it's this defections happening, particularly the one that happened in Delta State, do you think it is an initiative of the APC, or it is because of the lack of cohesion within the PDP? Can you hear me, Mr. Nani? Okay, let me take that question to Mr. Ame while we try to connect with Mr. John Nani in Delta. So, Mr. Ame, in your opinion, do you think this defections we are seeing, you think it is something initiated by the APC to attract the opposition, or you think it is because of lack of internal politics or internal political cohesion within the opposition?
I don't think it's internal political cohesion within the opposition, because the APC itself is having internal issues. That's why you find out that the former vice national chairman is leaving, and others are also angry. The APC have not been able to hold, hold a valid NEC and convention, because they are afraid of the implosion that will happen during the process. So the issue is about people trying to, be clever by half and hiding behind one finger, thinking that they will not be seen. Because before the defection, there's always an agreement. Are you going to give us the old ticket for the APC? Are you going to allow our governor second term? Are you going to do this? Are you going to drop the corruption charges that we have, 1.2, 1.3 trillion? These are the discussions that happen behind the scene. And this discussion is against the interest of the people. It's like trading the welfare.
Just a second, if you can hear me. Sometimes it will seem like these defections or this displeasure by the politicians and their supporters is always inspired or informed by some other issues previously. For instance, prior to 2015, Mr. Ame, you'll find out that these same mass defections happened from the PDP into the APC, which was a new party at the time, if you remember. And then after some time, during the 2015, post-2015 elections, some of them moved away from the APC back into the PDP. And some of them are trying to structure this party to be stronger now. So it would seem like sometimes it's the internal machinery, particularly of the PDP over time, that's made these mass exodus happen from time to time.
I still do not agree, because the 5 governors that left in 2015 that eventually gave the APC victory, because the APC wouldn't have won. I was the vote they used that was used in defeating the PDP. But the major issue, sincerely, is that people are driven by self-interest. They don't look at the collective interest of the people. They are driven by self-interest in the process. Oh, what am I going to get? It was about presidency. Jonathan was going for second term, and they said, oh, we will not agree, and they left. And if they had stayed, one of them, that article by 2019 would have been, the power would have gone to North, and they would have become president. It is lack of patience to follow a system that has been established through, normal conventional means, where you have, convention, organizing NEC meeting and others to be able to stabilize issue. If your party has taken decision and you believe in the principles that's being canvassed by the party, or you believe in the manifesto of the party, you will stay put and try to repair it. You will stay put and try to solve some of this problem. But the easiest way out is to save self rather than work for general public. The easiest way out is to serve interest rather than serve the interest of the people.
Yes, that should be a little disturbing. I have one question. Just before we go on a short break, I have one question for Mr. John Nani. I asked that question the other time, but let me put you to another one to you. There's always this fear that mass defections into a strong party makes it so much stronger that it erodes the multi-party democracy that we have. What's your view on that?
I don't think so. People might, say it that way, because I know full well that for anybody to move from a village to another, there must be a reason. If you don't have a background, a peaceful background for you to operate, you leave that particular village. Now, PDP is in disarray. We need to move to APC because of the people. The people need the dividends of democracy. The movement you see is councillors, the local government chairman, House of Assembly members, House of Rep members, senators are all now in one party. And they are the representative of the people, not just the governor that has moved. So if my friend there will say that the masses will say no, as if forgotten that when it came to the election of the governor, the APC in the other states only got 4 local governments out of 25 local governments. And now the APC that came second is now with the PDP that came first, now member of APC. That shows to you that it's 25/25 in APC now. The Labour Party you are mentioning only got the vote during presidency because of the notion that the people needed a southern president. And you know what it is? In Nigeria now, that ethnicity always play a part when it comes to election.
And it raises questions, Mr. Anani. It raises questions because ideally, we can all agree that that's not supposed to be the case. But you know what? I have 1 or 2 other questions for you when we return from this break. Do stay with us. Thank you all for staying with us. Mr. Anani, let me still stay with you for 1 or 2 seconds. Do you think there's anything the PDP could have done to retain its members? I understand that he's taking a break for a little while, but let me take that question to Mr. Ame. Do you think, Mr. Peter Ame, that there is anything the PDP in particular in this case could have done, perhaps looking into the crystal ball and seeing what could have been? Do you think there's anything they could have done to forestall this gale of defection, if I can use that term?
For me, I believe that if the PDP had continued to maintain the internal, processes that that will give transparency to their activities on a daily basis, it will also encourage more people to join. But I don't think it will stop people who are living based on investigation, who are living based on federal might, notion of that they will be protected by federal might and all that. I don't think it will stop them. I think it will just have improved those who would have joined the party and then, swell the rank of the party. And I must correct something that my friend said that about Peter Labour Party was successful because it was the notion about southern term. Bola Tinubu was from the south. The vice presidential candidate of the PDP was from Delta State, and the governor, the councillor you mentioned, and the House of Reps were also from the PDP, and they were defeated in the presidential election. And the entire South, the Labour Party scored, and the presidential election scored 44.5%, while Tinubu scored 35.5%. So you can't put these figures together and say it's about South. There was a message that resonated with the people. The people connected with the message and decided to run with it. I'm telling the opposition today, they should not look at this gale of defection that is being advertised everywhere. They should look at how to connect with the people. Because the people have come to a point. We have over 50% of our population being driven by young people. We have come to a point where tech activities and the interest of how this country moved beyond where it is today has become the center point of discussion for Nigerian citizens. So we cannot be looking at this entrenched political structure that have manipulated our people, that have manipulated their interest. If you look at the resources from 1999, you put it to the table today, what the other state has generated. Then I say we should be competing with any civilized country in the world. That is not what is happening because of misappropriation of resources by state governors across board. And
that's
we
quite
need
understood.
to be able to
and
see that.
There are quite a number of
reason.
issues to raise from time to time. My sincere apologies. There's always issues to raise from time to time. And the issue you raised about the young people is something that strikes at the heart of the matter, because in another 10, 20 years from now, the people who are prominent now may not be as prominent as they are. Let me ask Mr. Nani about how significantly you would say the people are carried along. Mr. Peter Ame said the other time that many of the people who were there at the official defection rally, they were chaperoned there by buses, perhaps paid for by the government and all of that. So it begs the question of how significantly the people are carried along indeed. and not mobilized maybe by some kind of immediate gratification or the other. One, how the people are carried along, and two, how really sustainable is this gale of defection going to affect the lives of the people, in your opinion?
Well, it's laughable when you say these people were mobilizing. You know the length of Delta State. They would have not walked from their area to that place. Technically, they will come with buses to that place, to the venue. If it even takes about 2-3 hours from some parts of Delta State to get to Asaba. And I'm telling you, the people are joyous with the governor. It was not a thing that was done in a day. It was clear that there was a consultation within the party leaders. Between the governor and the party leader, there was consultation. They were asked to go home and talk with their people to know whether or not it goes down with them, the governor moving, because they love the governor. That's why they decided if they don't love you, I think he will not be contradicting himself. He said during the presidential election, most of the people voted Labour Party. But when it came to governorship election, the same persons who voted Labour Party did not vote Labour Party again, but they voted PDP. It is a person. It's the governor that they were voting for. That's why they had a change of mind, because they know this will do us well. The preaching of Obi captured the mind of the people and said, oh, what this man is saying, if he's going to do it, let's vote for him. So it's not the politicians really that did the voting. It is the people. And knowing full well that, yes, the councillors to the chairman, House of Assembly members, House of Rep, senators, they are those representing the people. They must have talked with their people. Like I know full well that we had ward meetings before coming to Asaba. And the people saw on ground, because I know full well that there is no one of the 25 local government that projects are not completed or projects are not going on. So if they can see for themselves what the government is doing, a fast speak for itself, okay. You don't need to convince them whether they need to follow the governor or not. So I know full well, like this, the other arm of the question you asked, if you are doing well, they expect.
Mr. Nani, if I may, just sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Nani. I just wanted to quickly, put this in. Democracy is about choices. It's supposed to reflect the will of the people, and the people are supposed to choose from an array of options before them. How does this defection leave the people of Delta State with choices?
Well, you know full well that if like we are in Europe, there must be an enemy to cut it. The defection you are seeing, the mammoth crowd you are seeing today, does not leave the fact that there might be skirmishes of persons who will also have a choice to say, okay, we are voting for party C or party D. But the majority, when it's democracy, carries the day.
All right.
I know full well there will be some persons who will have a choice of voting to giving to another party, but I know full well more than 80% of Deltas are with Sheriff Oborewori as the governor of the state.
All right, I think it's a fine place to leave it. Let me come to Mr. Peter Ame. Well, you are looking at, you say this is about the people. He is looking at the fact that majority carries the day, and he thinks at this point, this coalition has given them majority. For you, what about choices?
They have taken away the choice, made by the people and given it to, the minority in the state.
So is it looking bleak?
It's looking bleak for them because, let me tell you, he said that when it came to, during the time of the presidential election, they voted for Labour Party and they now voted for governor. You remember that the message by the PDP was that they were obedient. That was the reason. And the people are going to now differentiate this time. These facts are there. He's chairman of the Sopatek. He said today, if he did not decamp with the president, the governor, that he will not be removed. He knows that this is not his free will. These are people who are protecting what is on the table. If you tell me our councillors today in the local government, is there election? There's no election for the councillors. They are appointed by the governor. There's no election for the local government chairman. So you see a situation that these people truly, if you do your data analysis properly, are not representative of the people. These are people who commissioner picked by the
So what will you tell the people very quickly in 30 seconds?
The people have done it before. They've been able to, state their, what they want through the ballot. And for me, the people must continue to give that direction to this country. Because if you allow a system, an hijacked system by the minority in power, to continue to manipulate processes and mismanage public resources without accountability, then Nigerians will not last long. So we need to save this country, and it is in the hands of the people to do that.
It's a fine place to leave it. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Mr. Peter Ame is the National Secretary of the CUPP. He's been with us here in our Abuja studios. And Mr. John Nani was the chairman of the SOPADEC and a former aspirant Delta Central senatorial seat, and also a former chieftain of the PDP, joined us virtually. Thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Nani.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's how we leave Sunrise Daily this beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for sending in your feedback as well. We hope to create a day to take them. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.